Should hopefully be able to hear me. Hello and welcome to day 2 of the 100 Days of Shakespeare event. Would like to just start off by thanking Carolina Furman for creating this event where we can come together, celebrate, research, learn from each other over 100 days around Shakespeare, his plays, and the time that he lived. So day 2, I thought tonight might be a good night to start by just having a look at some of my favorite resources for researching and studying Shakespeare. So got a few websites to look at that I'll just take you through very briefly, and a few books that I think are fantastic resources to use. So really, without much further ado, let's get into that. So first thing I want to do is just jump in and grab some of these web pages and have a look at these. So some really, obviously the internet has just made information so accessible, and it is just a fantastic thing. So the first place that I can definitely recommend is the Folger Shakespeare Library online. So jump in, sign up to their email list, get their emails, but trawl their website. It is just filled with amazing stuff. So have a really good look around there. There's obviously, you can, oh, hang on. Can you see that? No, you can't see that. Let me put that on the screen for you so you can see it. Let me try that. How's that work? That's not working. No, that is not working. I don't think that's working. That's a problem. Let me try, hang on. Nah, not working. Don't know why that's not working. All right. Well, I'll go back here. I will drop links to all of these in the description. So I'm not quite sure why that's not working. It's appearing in my preview screen, but just not coming across onto the actual channel page itself there. So that's a little bizarre. Not quite sure what's going on. Anyway, we'll move on. I'll keep tinkering with that in the background and hope that I can get it fixed. So Folger Shakespeare Library, a fantastic resource. Absolutely recommend that you check that out and take a look there. The next place that I go to, if I'm going to get myself a copy to download of one of Shakespeare's plays, is I go to shakespeare.mit.edu. So it's just a really simple website. It has been up for as long as I have been studying. Oh, actually, there you go. Right on the top of the page, it says it's been around since 1993. So just a really simple website with downloadable HTML versions of the plays, the sonnets, and the poems. So a really useful resource to get your hands on there if you can. The next one is a website called Jstor, Jstor. This is actually a website that houses articles and journals around lots and lots of things, and I have found this to be an amazing resource to be able to access articles that you just can't find anywhere else. This is not a website that you can just jump onto. You actually need a membership, but often you're able to get a membership to this site through sites like your local library or your local state library. So I know for us in Queensland, if I'm a member of the State Library of Queensland, I can use that membership to get an affiliate membership for Jstor, access the website and download articles there. So really, really useful resource. Absolutely amazing articles through there, and definitely worth checking out. The next one is the University of Oxford has a podcast page, and they have a number of audio versions of the plays, and they've got other lectures and that sort of thing that you can listen to all around Shakespeare. So another really great resource, and definitely one to check out. I'm really sorry you can't see these web pages. That's really frustrating. Let me just see if I can get that to show up. Maybe it's just a bit laggy. Nah, still hates me. Still hates me. Don't know why. Oh well. I'll just double check on the website that that's not showing up, just so maybe you can see it and I can't. So let's have a look there. Bear with me a moment. Great resource. And definitely. Oh, and that's got lag, really so I can't see that anyway. Can I go back and see? Yeah, no. Bear with me. Yeah, no, it's not showing up. Okay, cool. So let's ditch that as an idea and we'll stick with this. Great. So we'll go back here. So we'll stick with that. Excuse me. So Oxford, University of Oxford, another great resource with a lot of audio files, which is actually really, really useful because if you're not a massive reader and you'd rather listen to podcasts, then definitely one to check out. Shakespeare Online.com. Now, this is a resource website. Again, lots of articles on this one. Definitely worth checking out. And you'll actually, if you start Googling, well, hopefully we can continue to Google in Australia for the long term. But if you Google Shakespeare and research those types of terms, a lot of these sites will come up. So this is a compilation of articles. The only thing I would say with any of these sites, just do a little bit of due diligence on the actual authors of the articles on there and make sure that they are actually, worth using as resources, that they've got cited references and that you can see where they're getting their information from. It's really important that you can make sure that any research that you're doing is able to be validated and cross-referenced and obviously sources cited. So, but there are a few of these sites and this one's not a bad one. Shakespeare-online.com, articles and all sorts of things on there worth taking a look at. This one, which is got a couple of different varieties. This is nosweatshakespeare.com, and I know there's no Fear Shakespeare out there. So these take the plays and convert them into more modern language, so they're easier to understand for people that don't really have the gist of the Shakespearean style language. Really, really useful for students and anyone that's studying Shakespeare that, doesn't have any other resource to be able to dig into what the meaning of some of these phrases are and what some of the words mean. Some of the words in Shakespeare's plays had a very distinct meaning when he wrote them, and those meanings have changed over time. And so I've got a book here that I'll show you, and it's another resource that actually shows the meaning of each word in its context for each play. And if you don't have something that you can access like that, then a website like No Fear Shakespeare, No Sweat Shakespeare, these are really great resources and reference tools for you to be able to get a better understanding of what Shakespeare was actually meaning in these people's interpretations. So generally pretty good, and don't have a problem recommending those. And the final online resource that I'll throw into the description later is actually a playlist of a range of lectures on Shakespeare. So on YouTube, sorry. So it's a YouTube playlist, and it's just a lot of different lectures and discussions around Shakespeare. Some really great stuff in there, definitely worth checking out and using again as a jumping off point. So again, a lot of these things are great to start with. They're not necessarily going to be the be-all and end-all of your research. Really great jumping off points. And, I'll tell you what I used to do when I was researching a lot of this stuff is I would dig into a book or a website, get the information that I needed, and then find the references that they were referencing and the references that they were citing, and then go and find those reference books or those websites or whatever that journal was, and dig into that. Because if this person is using that as a reference, well, then there's probably more information in that I can get that isn't involved in their publication. So it gives me an opportunity to just extend my knowledge further and dig a bit deeper and see the context that they took that information from, to also in part judge it for myself, that their interpretation of that information is accurate, allows me the opportunity to then cross-reference that as well. So that was something that I used to do quite a bit, and that's actually what led me to a couple of the books that I own now, which I'll get to in a second. So I will drop links to all of those online resources in the description. Some really, really great ones there. And now I'm going to jump into my stack of books. So these are some reference books that I have used over the years when I'm looking at Shakespeare and digging into the work. And there are a lot of versions of some of these. And, I know there's a lot of contention around some things like the complete works, like this Alexander text, complete works, which was a gift for me when I was elevated to an international award called the Order of the Laurel within the medieval group that I mentioned in the last episode. So the Society for Creative Anachronism has different awards and an award structure, and you can be recognized for your contribution and expertise in certain fields. And in the arts, that's called the Laurel. And that's an internationally recognized award through the Society. So wherever I go in the world as part of the Society, I'm recognized as a master of theatre production. And this was a gift from some friends of mine for that award, which was lovely. And it's a really great book. There are a lot of people that don't like the Alexander text. That's okay. There's other sorts of editions. I've got an Oxford edition as well, and there's a couple of others. The good thing about a lot of these collected works these days is they are filled with additional information. Some of them have glossaries, so that you can actually get a deeper understanding of what some of the words mean, again, in context. Some of them are referenced within the plays themselves. Some of them have forewords. Some of them have write-ups before every play that you can actually read through the play, get a sense of the synopsis, get a better understanding of the context, understand a little bit around the time that it was written, and it just gives you a really better understanding of the work itself in the context of the time that it was written, because just like any playwright, Shakespeare was responding to the time of the day, not 2 p.m., the time of, where he was living and when. So, there were some the history plays that are touted as not being very accurate, but he was writing them from the viewpoint of the royalty of the day. So he would obviously make sure that they were happy, that they kept paying him and kept getting him to come back and write more and more. So you have to take all of that into account, and some of these collected works have excellent summaries on some of that stuff in them, which is absolutely worth looking at. So my next one, this is, for me, one of the best biographies I've read on Shakespeare. So it's by a guy called Peter Ackroyd. And on the front cover, it's actually touted as, "You will not find a better book on Shakespeare." That's a big call by the Independent back when it was written. But I actually found this to be an excellent biography, a really, really great biography of Shakespeare's life. Covers off a whole bunch of different aspects. It really feels like you kind of get in beside him a little bit and really understand a lot more of the context around the time and the era and what he was writing, when and why. So Peter Ackroyd, Shakespeare The Biography. Again, I'll put links to all of these books or similar styles of books in the description below. I'm just going to duck out and drop that on the floor because I didn't leave myself enough table space. This next book is a small book, but it is amazing. Absolutely amazing. And it is E.M.W. Tillyard's The Elizabethan World Picture. This is an amazing book because it really digs into the mindset of the time. And so I think one of the biggest things that I got out of this book was the chain of being and the understanding around the humours and some things around that. So the chain of being, discussing that whole concept of, we talk about the lion being the king of the jungle and the dolphin being, the master of the sea and that sort of thing. And a lot of that is sprung from this concept of the chain of being. So this book discusses from God down to the lowest creature, what the hierarchy of that mindset was of, God being the highest being, creature, and man, and where angels sit within that context, and then where the animals sit, and what that means. And it just gives you a little bit more context when you're reading some of the plays and you hear the references to stags and lions and other animals within the world, and then the humours like melancholy and choleric, those types of things. It just gives you a better understanding. It's only about 125 pages long. It's definitely a book you will need to read and read and read again. The concepts in here are so different to what the modern mind can think of, but it has just been an incredible book as a resource to just get a deeper understanding of the context and the times that Shakespeare wrote in. So E.M.W. Tillyard, The Elizabethan World Picture. Cannot recommend this book enough. Now, there is a professor at Reading University in the UK named Andrew Gurr. And I've come across Andrew Gurr's work a number of times, and I've actually bought 2 of his books in my travels. He is an excellent Shakespeare historian, and I am reaching out at the moment in the hope that I might be able to interview him as part of this 100 days. We'll see how that goes. So if anybody out there knows Andrew Gurr and can tap him on the shoulder for me, let me know. While you're at it, Kenneth Brenner. I'd love to chat to him as well as part of this 100 days. So I'm just going to throw that out there into the world. But these 2 books I found to be fabulous in regards to staging and the concept of playgoing in that period. So this is an Oxford Shakespeare Topics book called Staging in Shakespeare's Theatres. It was written by Andrew Gurr and Mariko IchiKawa. I hope I got that right. So I don't know if you can see that. It's out of focus. That's all right. Staging in Shakespeare's Theatres. And the first one that I bought of Andrew Gurr's books was this one called Playgoing in Shakespeare's London. So Gurr is an excellent scholar of Shakespeare and his time, and I really, really love the work that he has done and the research that he has put into the books. He has a number of books out there. I haven't seen them all. I haven't read them all. I haven't dug into them all, but I would have no hesitation in recommending his work to you at any point. So 2 books there by Andrew Gurr. I know there's at least 3 or 4 others that he's written or had a part in writing. So check out anything by Andrew Gurr, Professor Andrew Gurr, and you will not be led astray. This is a 2-volume set. I have seen this as a PDF many years ago. I don't know if it was a legal PDF or if someone had scanned it and just uploaded it somewhere. But these books, it's a 2-volume set. So the first set goes from A to M, and the second volume goes from N to Z. And so this is called the Lexicon, the Shakespeare Lexicon and Quotation Dictionary by Alexander Schmidt. And this is fantastic. So pretty much every word in Shakespeare's plays is listed in these 2 volumes with a definition of that word in context to that play and the reference. So it's not just giving you one single meaning for the word, because some of those words have multiple meanings depending on the context of the play and the moment that they're in. So these 2 volumes have been invaluable in my research. I also use these when I'm writing sonnets for people. Sorry about that. I also use these when I'm writing sonnets for people. So I'll dig through and find words in here that I can use to help spice up and give a much more Elizabethan flavour to the sonnets that I write, if that is something that the person wants. And it's a fantastic resource. I absolutely recommend it. I know there's a couple of other versions by other authors that are a similar sort of concept, and they have definitions for the words. Fantastic resource. If you can get your hands on a set of these in your research and your study, you will just be thankful forever. Honestly, they are fantastic. So, I'll give you a quick example. Just a simple word like content. Adjective means satisfied, not demanding more, and then it lists 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, about 10 different plays and the specific act and scene that it appears in. So, Midsummer's Act 5, line 134, Merchant of Venice, Act 3, Scene 2, line 135. As You Like It, Act 2, Scene 4, line 18. So it goes right down into that granular kind of level so that you can find it. So then there's a second definition that says willing and well pleased, gives you some examples where that line is used. Definition 3, not disinclined, satisfied so as not to oppose. So, and number 4, acquiescing, not grieved. So similar meanings, but not the same, so there's slight variations on the meanings in all of those locations. And so in all those 4 examples, it will list the specific play, scene, act, scene, and line where that word appears so that you can go through and dig it out. Or actually what it's for is so that you can come from the play that you're reading, find it in there and know which meaning is relevant to the play that you're currently reading. So Alexander Schmidt, the Shakespeare Lexicon and Quotation Dictionary, 2-volume set, maybe out there as a 1-volume set, but damn thick book if it is, but fantastic resource. And my final resource that I'm going to just tell you about tonight, which for me is the Pista Resistance. This is a set of books. So this is a 4-volume set. And I hunted these down back when I was doing lots of research because these books were referenced by every other reference book I found. Every book that Andrew Gurr wrote, every other book that I dug into in regards to researching Shakespeare, Peter Ackroyd's biography, you name it. If there was a book out there written that had some discussion around Shakespeare in it, this book, this set of books was referenced. And in fact, the author of this book also, this series of books also wrote a bunch of other books as well. That I have one other book by them called The Medieval Stage, which is all about pre-Elizabethan theatre in England. But this 4-volume set, I'll show you that, out of print now. So obviously worth a little bit, but it was... Don't fall. I'm still here. It's called the Elizabethan Stage. So unlikely that you will find this anywhere to purchase. I bought this set. Gosh, it would have been almost 20 years ago now. I don't even know if I've got a date in here. I don't. But at the time, I bought the set for quite a bit of money because it was out of print back then as well. And so, again, unlikely. I have seen online single volumes of the 4-volume set. You can get like volume 2 or volume 4. But it took me a long time to find all 4 volumes, and I managed to find it as a single set and sold. And so these are amazing references. Chambers also wrote The Medieval Stage, which I have a copy of. Actually, I have 2 copies of. William Shakespeare, A Study of Facts and Problems in 2 volumes, A Short Life of Shakespeare, and then English Literature at the Close of the Middle Ages, and Samuel Taylor, Coleridge, A Biography Study. Chambers is referenced in all of the other reference books that I found. And so just to give you an idea of the sort of content that these books cover. So this is volume 1. So in book 1, it covers the court. And so it talks about Elizabeth and James, the royal household. These are the chapter titles. The revels office. So you may know that the master of the revels controlled when they could play, when they could perform. So, during the plague, the master of the revels shut the playhouses. And at different times, for political reasons, the master of the revels would shut the playhouses. And so this is the revels office. So talking about that office that actually held the master of the revels. Talking about pageantry, the masque, and the court play. Book 2, which is part of volume 1, covers the control of the stage. So humanism and puritanism, the struggle of court and city, the actor's quality, and the actor's economics. So that's just in volume 1. And it gets down into some super granular stuff, which is just amazing. So cannot recommend that you hunt these down. If you are researching Shakespeare, get to a library, get your hands on these and see what you can find. There is some really great stuff in here about the different player groups. So the Lord Chamberlain's Men, which Shakespeare was a part of, and then the King's Men, the boy player groups. And so there was a lot of other player groups that were all young boys, and they performed quite regularly. It talks about the playhouses like the Rose and the Globe that we know, but also there were a lot of indoor playhouses as well. So it talks through a lot of the information around those. What else have we got in here? Staging at the court, printing of plays and playwrights. It's got a whole... Book 4 is all about the different theatres. So there's information here about the Red Lion Inn, the Bull Inn, the Bell Inn, which are all the interior theatres, the public ones. And then you've got the Theatre, the Curtain, the Rose, the Swan, the Globe, the Fortune, the Boar's Head, the Red Bull, the Hope, heaps of them. So a bit of information about all of those, generally a few pages on each. Then the private theatres, which were like the Blackfriars and the Whitefriars, and then the structure and conduct of the theatres. So just oodles and oodles of information in here that is essentially become the base resource for anyone researching Shakespeare, because that's, so it was written in early 1900s. So I think this was about 1903 it was published, something like that. Or it may have been a little bit after that, but yeah, anyway, cannot rave about these books enough. The Elizabethan stage, and if you can get your hands on, these were out of print and quite expensive. The medieval stage has been reprinted in soft cover, and I haven't looked recently, but is potentially still available. So it was quite readily available, maybe up to 10 years ago when I was looking. So I suspect, given the quality of the production at that time, it is a book that's still quite available. I'll have a look and see. But yeah, so some amazing resources. Cannot recommend them enough to you. If you are studying Shakespeare, there are some things there that will help you and help you get to really as close to some primary sources as you can, apart from going to the first folios, in regards to research. So secondary, tertiary sort of sources that will lead you in the right direction, because, of course, E.K. Chambers wrote those books from references. And so there's a whole bunch of references in there that Chambers talks about that, again, you could go and reference yourself and dig a little deeper. So there we have it. A whole bunch of reference books and resources that you can use if you want to dig into Shakespeare. The other thing that I wanted to mention is in the description below is a new link, because Carolina realized that in the event that she created on Facebook, no one could post any content in there. So she has actually changed that now. She's created a group that people can join so that we can actually share our resources with each other, set up files and folders and all sorts of things. So I'll drop that link in the description of this video. I will go back to the first day video and drop the link in that and delete out the event because that's no longer valid. So I encourage you, jump on over to the event, get involved, share your knowledge, learn from others, help others learn. It's all about just experiencing and enjoying the work of Shakespeare and the time when he was alive and writing. So thanks very much. Appreciate you digging in, sticking around. I'm really sorry that those links didn't show up on the screen, but I'll drop all of them into the description a little bit later tonight. So hopefully in a few hours, once this is all processed and available, it will be there for you to click your happy heart through. So that's it for now. Thanks very much. I will see you tomorrow for day 3 of the 100 Days of Shakespeare event.